Hey, everybody. This is Jordan McConnell with the Crohn's Veteran Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I am honored and delighted to have my new friend, David Freedman, here today to talk about his amazing book, The Laws of Success. David, how you doing, sir?
Oh, wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight, Jordan, and looking forward to sharing some positive and uplifting messages with your audience today that I know will help them live their best life.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that, and you for folks that don't know, you reached out to me, through LinkedIn, and and for people that are on LinkedIn, we got all these messages from all these people all the time, and but when I saw you, I immediately knew that I wanted you on the show, and so again, thanks for being here, and and first off, before we get into your book. I would like to know, I would like for you to share, who you are, and a little bit of your background.
Sure. As far as my background goes, my my college days, undergrad, I went to Penn State. I was an accounting major. I then went to Drexel University for my MBA. Have a background, concentration in marketing, and then from there went into finance, and that's where I've spent most of my career, sort of in the financial analysis area. But in addition to that, I'm also an author, motivational speaker, and a successful entrepreneur as well. I Although it didn't start out as a success, it was quite a story. So what I inherited, but actually a result of that whole experience, I think, triggered a lot of these kind of laws of success that I think can help your listeners. And just like a quick little background about that. So, um, you know, I was always kind of fascinated with the idea about owning my own business, but it's a little bit of a scary thing.
Right.
And my first job out of college was with the Campbell Soup Company, and I was having great success there. I was getting promoted one or two levels every year, and things
Cool,
were going
cool.
great. And the very first department that I was in, I was fortunate. I was in came in through this management trainee program where I got to rotate through a different department every 6 months for 2 years before I kind of settled into position. And it was good because honestly, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do.
Right,
And
right.
but the first department I was in was pretty much, I'll say, dominated by folks that were there 30, 35 years or longer, a lot of long timers. And, many of them were getting very close to retirement. And then there were some tough financial times, and these folks that needed just like a couple more years to get them set were let go.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I was like, my goodness, if that can happen to them, they were good people, gave the company, decades of their life, and just got me thinking of like,
I've
I
seen, excuse me, I mean, and not to cut you off, but I've
yeah,
definitely seen that, seen that in my own life, I had somebody, close to me that was a VP, for
mhm,
it, for a company, and 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 they had made millions of dollars, for this company,
mhm,
right? And
yep,
so, and they know, and their own, administrative assistant, was like, excuse me, HR wants to talk to you, and it's crazy. So I was like, wow. So the same thing, if something like that could happen to a person like that, I was like, so
right.
it gets the gears turning.
Absolutely. And so, when I saw that, it really got me thinking of like, I don't want I want to have some control over my destiny. And I spent actually quite a few years kind of first going back and forth in my head of like, okay, I got to do this. I'm afraid, and it was a little hard to take the leap. And I spent quite a few years just looking at businesses, trying to find one that appealed to me. And I ultimately, I guess it was probably about 5 or 6 years later, finally, give or take, from the time I sort of thought of this idea of going into business by the time to the time where I finally got one. And what I ended up getting was a fitness center, which for me, I'm a real health nut. Folks that know me, they call me Super Dave, the way I work out and eat so healthy and all that kind of stuff. And so
That'd be very aspirational over on this side.
yeah, yeah. So I'm really into working out, eating healthy and everything. And so I thought this business, was like a really good fit for me. And with my finance background, I had the ability to review all the financial records, kind of understand what was going on, right? So I looked it all over, passed passed the test, and make settlement on this business.
Mhm.
And it turns out I'm like, okay, where are the sales? Where are the sales? The sales aren't coming in, right?
Oh,
And turned out I was given fraudulent financial statements.
oh
And so,
no.
so this business, I guess I was about not, yeah, about 31, a little over 31 years old when I bought it. So still pretty young in my career. And this business is,
I mean, how did you feel when you feel, when that day, that day when that happened, when you actually realized, these, yeah, there's, I was, and this was a misrepresented, to me,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
how did you
And,
feel?
yeah, so I'll tell you how I did, and I think this will, I think the things I'm talking about apply to like really any situation in life. You're not just business or anything. So,
Sure.
this business was bleeding money. Um, I had a lease that was like $100,000 a year that I was on the hook for, which is a lot of money at any age. But when you're like 31 years old, it's
That's a lot of
um,
money.
pretty scary, and I, uh, a lot of things. I was angry. I was upset. I'm not ashamed to say it. I cried at night, and and um, and I complained to everyone that would listen, you know, and I called an attorney, found like the best attorney in the area, okay, like he's gonna get me out of this mess, like my mommy and daddy couldn't get me out of this thing,
Right.
and he looked into it, and it turned out that the person I bought the business from didn't have any money. So it's like, so I sue him and I win. It's like I
Right.
get nothing, right? So I was
Yes. I mean,
kind of
so
stuck.
yeah. So in that case, though, is it just trying to look, well, now that I have it, now, like, how can I grow it? How can I build it? How can I scale it type thing?
Yeah, yeah. And so I'll say it took me a while to sort of get to that point. Like I said, I was very upset, um, complained all the time, and just the more I complained, the more I felt sorry for myself, just the worse things
Mm.
got.
And that,
And
that's with Crohn's and IBD. Like, you have to be very careful because it's a chronic condition. It's permanent, lifelong.
yep,
Ebbs and flows, and and you can find yourself, myself, saying, just letting how you feel. Yeah, just not good energy. So it is. So you have to be very careful with that.
yeah. And so, I finally got to the point where just like complaining and feeling sorry for myself isn't working. Things just kept getting worse. And so, I just realized I've got to stop complaining. I've got to stop feeling sorry for myself. And I've got to take all that energy I'm wasting on those kind of things and focus on turning that business around. And, I think that applies, like I said, to like pretty much anything in life. Bad stuff happens, right?
Right.
it happens. There's things that we can't control and everything. But, I can tell you, complaining, feeling sorry for yourself, and I don't want to sound like insensitive or anything, but it it doesn't help. It really doesn't help. And I
Solutions, yeah, solutions are, I mean, it's okay to feel, it's okay to be sad, angry,
yeah,
like frustrated, all these things, but like, and in my own life, it's, I'm a solutions architect. I mean, that's what my job is literally, to try to put, use like technical solutions, and marrying that with business and stuff. And so I'm always like, okay, I'm sick and I don't feel well. Like, what could I do to solve this problem?
right.
I'm always thinking that way. And so usually when I find myself in that mindset of like, you know, uh pity party, or victim
Mhm.
mindset, or like, like why,
Right,
that kind of stuff, then I was okay, well, how can I solve it? And
right.
so, so, I solve it by, talking to folks like you about, how to, turn your life around, and, and have a different perspective. I talk to nutritionists. I have this podcast to, it's kind of almost like a therapy, just to,
Hmm.
break bread with people that are going through similar experiences and stuff. And so it's just, it's a kind of a journey, to find different solutions that, that serve me best. Right.
Yep. Yep. And so I write these, I call them laws of success, if you will. And one that sort of ties into all the, I'll say complaining, feeling sorry for myself was I call it the law of complaining. And I've got a law for everything. So I've got a law for peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You name it, I got it. But basically, it says, 1 minute spent complaining robs you of 60 seconds of making forward progress towards your goal.
100%.
So, I'd say to people, remember that, it's okay to be upset for a little while. You can't just keep everything inside, but don't let it, rule your day, um, and put it behind you, and take all that time spent, I'll say complaining and being upset, and divert it towards something positive in your life. And
Yeah,
you know what
and so in that vein, what, how did you become, author Super Dave?
Yeah, so I it's really just a gradual process, over time. And again, I think, I think one of the things I've learned, through my life is just, and people tend to forget this, and it's usually the simple things, like things that are easy. They're easy to do, but they're also easy not to do, right?
Mm,
And I think, and I think in general it's subconsciously, but like the first thing we do when we wake up in the morning, either consciously or subconsciously, is we decide whether to be positive or negative. How do we want to approach the day, right? And there's a saying, I don't know who said it, but you can't get positive results with a negative attitude.
mm,
And I have my own, law of success. I call it the law of attitude. And it's really, I really, for the most part, almost, I've written over like 50 of these laws of success, and almost without exception, I wrote everyone first to help me personally deal with a situation, to help me through it. How can I look at it in a way that propels me forward rather than, pulls me back? And this law of attitude, as I call it, that I wrote, goes like this: how things appear to the naked eye doesn't really matter. It's the lens you decide to view them through that counts. And that will make all the difference. And I can't stress that enough. people forget, like, your attitude is a choice, you know.
It is.
People,
It is. It is.
yeah. And,
Um,
and you know, people ask, so I love my job that I do. I'm really, you know, I love where I work. I'm really proud of it. I work for Lehigh Valley Health Network, just a wonderful um, health institution and everything. But I work a ton of hours, a lot. But you know, I enjoy what I do, and you know, if I wanted to, you know, I could come up with a whole long list of reasons of, you know, to like be miserable about my job if I wanted to, but I got a huge list of just so many things that I love about my job, and I just, you know, I love it. And the same thing, you know, that applies to anything in life, you know. How you want to look at it is your choice. And
and that's what I've kind of done, like, you know, or that's my journey. You know, my journey is just to have a little bit of a healthier perspective, you know, every day than kind of yesterday. And
yeah,
and so, you know, there's a little bit more of it, like that, kind of like 1% better, you know, that, you know,
yep,
that. And so because, yeah, because that's, you know, I've had, you know, so it just like you know, full life, you know, a lot going on. You know, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I have a job, I'm doing a podcast. You know, I have, you know, other ideas too that I'm, you know, that I'm working on. And so you know, I found myself um you know, just burned out, you know, burned out on top of being sick, and
right,
type thing. And so just, and so I you know, and so that just caused me, you know, just completely emotionally just, you know, dysregulated, you know, type thing. And so
yeah,
and so now, so then so the idea is that I'm just gonna, you know, spend all pretty much 2022 um doing like mental work. And so like,
hmm,
so this, you know, focusing on, because I'm kind of a giving personality, I guess. And so now I'm gonna make sure I'm giving to Jordan all just for a whole year. And so
yeah,
that's, and so that journey is continuing into 2023 here. And so, you know, doing more eating, kind of mentioned what you were saying earlier, eating better, you know, going to the gym more, you know, those kind of things. Because the idea is that, you know, it's kind of believing what's possible. You know, I really do
hmm,
believe I can be a lot healthier. I can gain some more weight. You know, I can have a, you know, better quality of life, and it's, you know, so I'm gonna go get it type thing.
yeah. I mean, you know, and that just ties into, you know, just share another one of my laws of success of just, you know, we we tend to in life, I think, focus on, you know, just the relatively small number of things that we don't have control over. You know, just, you know, we don't have control over everything, but we focus on those couple of things, and usually they're not good things, right? These couple of things we can't control, and we just focus on them. We let them ruin our day, our week, our month, our year, our life in some cases, right? Rather than the so many things that we have control over. And you know, this, if this helps folks, you know, this one law that I wrote, I call it the law of destiny. And it goes like this: when you focus on the many things you can control rather than the few things you can't, you gain control over your destiny. And that's, you know, that's what I did with this business. You know, this thing was losing a ton of money. It was scary, I have to tell you. And you know, what I did was I I basically I sat down, you know, eventually after I stopped feeling sorry for myself and complaining, and I took out a sheet of paper. And in the center, I drew a little circle which represented the customer. And then I drew a big circle around it and made like these little pie slices. And then I filled in each slice with, what are the different things that I have control over that, you know, can influence my customers, the ones I have to keep them, as well as what are the things I can do to get more of them.
Mm-hmm.
And and there are some things I couldn't, I couldn't control what my competition does, I couldn't control that. But there are so many things, and none of them were, I'll say, really spectacular. It's like the simple little things in life done well,
Mm.
consistently make make all the difference. And so I did a little research, nothing hard. And this was really before the internet was real popular too. So it goes back a ways, but it was like, okay, so what's like the most important thing to women in a gym, a fitness center? And it was actually what it wasn't the equipment, it was actually cleanliness.
Mm.
And what was the most important thing for guys? Actually, for the guys, equipment at the time ranked first, and cleanliness was number two. So those were slices in my pie, of what I control, cleanliness and
And the
equipment,
equipment.
So, simple things, right? You didn't have to be Albert Einstein. I put policies in place, for, my employees, or my team members, as I like to call them, as well as myself, of, you know, keeping the facility clean. And, I remember when I took it over and just getting a little bit of training from the previous owner. And he was telling me, like at the end of the night, you go around after everyone leaves, wipe down the equipment, get everything nice and clean for the next day. And, I thought about that. It's like, you got like tons and tons of people coming through here, sweating on the equipment, and like, they don't see you cleaning it if you're just doing it at
Right,
night,
right. So yes.
right?
Hmm.
So I told my team, so guys, when we're not tied up training someone, helping a customer, get out there and clean. And I did it myself too. Like I said, we want people to see us cleaning. And I recognize this. This talk isn't about cleaning or anything, but
No, but
the
it's
the
still important.
that the concept of little things that you have control over, that can make a really big difference in your life. And that was just one of many, just small little things. And these little things compound and stack up over time, and make a huge difference in your life. And you were talking a little bit about talking about being healthy and eating right and all that kind of stuff. Um, it's been a little while, but the last time I had my body fat tested, I was 4.1%, which is like super lean. And I'll say I'm proud of that, but I didn't do anything spectacular. I just consistency. I work out pretty hard 6 days a week. I have kind of sort of an easy recovery day on the
Mm.
seventh, and I eat extremely healthy. Not that I don't treat myself once in a while. There's a balance there, but I eat extremely healthy. And when you do that day after day, and the days add up to weeks, months, and literally decades, that's the result that you get. And
Mhm. It's kind of
uh,
like
it,
the whole like planting seeds and bearing fruit, right?
exactly. And what one of my laws, I really I like this one. I call it the law of excuses. And this was one, again, I wrote to help myself through some tough times. And the way this one goes is, in the history of mankind and womankind, not a single excuse ever achieved a goal. Goals are achieved from the summation of consistent, focused, thoughtful, and unspectacular actions repeated day after day. And I want to emphasize the word unspectacular. Um, most like really great things, not all of them, there's always exceptions to things. It's really just a bunch of small things that most people don't want to do, um, and doing them well and doing them consistently, you know.
Yeah,
And
like I would say like 2 points. One, is with Crohn's and talking about what you can control and what you can't control. It's it can be very empowering to somebody who's living with active symptoms. To just say, well, I cannot control like the kind of the chronic nature of this illness. I'm gonna have flares. I'm gonna have
Mhm.
other issues and stuff. But like I said, like you're saying, you have all this other stuff that you do have in your control and and help and to anybody out there listening, you know I live with active symptoms, and so it's just something that I have to do for myself, like literally intentionally, is to think about what is going right, and what I do have control over, and what I can fix, and
Yep,
versus that.
yep.
And
And in this business, this fitness center business that I had, when I took it over, again, it was bleeding money. It was down to about 175 members. It was going to go bankrupt. So, but just again, these, consistent, focused actions on things I had control over, over a relatively short period of time, I grew it to over 2,000 members, you know, and
bravo.
it was hard work. So I had my full-time job still at the hospital. And then I would go there at the fitness center at night on the weekends, and sometimes at the hospital I had to work the weekends too. And I I um I was working like a good 90 hours a week, no days off, and I did that for 7 years and 3 months straight.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and eventually got like a really good offer that was just too good to turn down. Smart business person, and ultimately sold it and what have you. But just my point of all that is just doing these things in your life consistently, and they aren't generally anything spectacular, can just
Oh,
make all the difference in your life.
I 100,
So
I 100% agree. Like, so this past year, I did a lot of Microsoft training, and so and specifically, I became an architect, I was saying, for my job, and I had never been an architect before. And so I was like, well, it might be a good idea to maybe brush up on my education and stuff like that. And so, so I was determined. A colleague, a coworker of mine suggested that I, go down this, education track. And so, and
mhm.
as I said to myself, well, not only am I going to do that, but I'm going to get the certifications to go along with that education track. And so I did. And that's of course based on my background in IT and 20 years and all these other kind of things. But to be able to do that, I got 5 certifications and passed 5 exams on the first try in 12 months.
Wow,
Right.
congrats. That's awesome. you
Right.
know
So thank you. And that was literally, I mean, studying, but just doing, like nights and weekends, right? Nights and weekends studying, taking practice exams,
Yep.
getting to the point, to anybody's listening, like, well, how did he do it? Well, I did it by getting 100% of my practice exams before I went in and taking the actual test.
Eh,
And did not go in until either I had like either averaging above a 90%, or
right.
or for the last 2 exams that I did, getting 100%, like on all the practice tests in a row without missing any, and then going to take the test.
Wow. So you remind me just that story of just uh, two laws that I wrote kind of pop into my mind when I hear you tell me all those wonderful things. Is so one is what I call the law of perseverance, which clearly you're
Mm.
strong in that, and that one that I wrote goes, impossible is a temporary state for those willing to do whatever it takes. It's a permanent state for those who give up. And, persevering through the tough times, doing the hard work that's needed to accomplish everything that you did, really makes the difference. And, the other thing I would say too is, clearly that you had to accomplish all that is, I believe, I, I think self-belief and a positive attitude are like truly, and patience are like superpowers
No,
in life that will just take you so far. And so that this one law I wrote is called the simple law. It's called the law of self-belief, and clearly you have it. And
thanks.
it's there are no known benefits to self-doubt, but the possibilities are limitless when you believe in yourself.
That is
And
that is an awesome way to end this, David. So folks, I really hope that that this man's life experiences and and wise words have touched you and inspired you and made living with IBD or and being impacted by IBD a little bit easier. And so so David, real quick here, how can folks find you and connect with you?
oh, great. So right now, the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. And if you go into the little search box and type David Freedman, that's FREEDMAN, and then because there might be multiple ones, type after my name, Lehigh Valley Health Network, and you should find me. If there's anything I can do for any of your listeners to help them, I'm not looking for anything in return or anything like that. I just like helping folks. Please reach out. I'd be delighted to help any of you. If you just need someone to talk to you, someone to inspire you. Every Monday I'll put out a motivational video, and just positive, uplifting message that is intended to help you live your best life, because that's really what life's about, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I 100% believe that. And again, thank you. And for and folks, this is a labor of love of mine. If you like the content that you hear today, if you enjoyed our interview, please subscribe to the podcast. Please, on Anchor or on Spotify or Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like listening to podcasts at, we're on it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow that too. I'm going to be doing more content on my YouTube this year. So please check that out. Of course, you can go to my website. It's www.crohnsveteran.com, where you'll be able to check this episode out when it gets published, along with other cool things that I'm doing on there. You can check out the Crohn's Veteran Store.com, for great Crohn's colitis merch. So you can help me raise awareness for IBD all over the world. And so again, David, thank you for joining me, and to everyone out there, peace and love. Over and out.
Absolute pleasure. Keep up your great work, Jordan. So you're really making a difference out there. Great job, buddy.
Thanks, David.